Hi, Copilot. I'm very curious about the Kenyan Police Act, the most recent one. What does it say about how the conduct of the police?
The Kenya Police Act underlines the standards of conduct expected from police officers, emphasizing professionalism, integrity, and respect for human rights. It sets out the rules regarding the use of force, arrest procedures, and community policing strategies. The Act aims to ensure accountability and transparency in law enforcement.
Do you have any ideas on what the act actually says when it comes to immobilizing unarmed citizens in protest?
The Kenya Police Act allows the police to mobilize armed officers in response to protests, but it requires them to act with restraint and in proportion to the threat. They must aim to de escalate situations and respect human rights, using force only as a last resort. The focus is on maintaining public order while respecting the rights of citizens to assemble and protest peacefully. Want to know more about this?
Absolutely. Does it allow a police officer to actually shoot indiscriminately?
No, it doesn't. The Kenya Police Act requires police officers to use firearms only as a last resort, and even then, the use of force must be lawful, necessary, and proportionate. Indiscriminate shooting is strictly prohibited. The aim is to protect life and maintain order while respecting human rights.
Okay. Under what circumstances are they allowed to shoot with the intention to immobilize?
In Kenya, police officers are permitted to use firearms with the intent to immobilize when there's an imminent threat to life or serious injury, or to prevent a suspect escaping if they're a serious threat. The use of firearms is a last resort, following clear warning, and if non-violent means are ineffective. The goal is always to protect life and ensure public safety.
So, what does the act stipulate a clear warning to look like? Would you have an example of that from the act?
I'm not able to provide a direct quote, but generally, the Kenyan Police Act would specify that the use of firearms is allowed in situations such as self defense, defense of others, or to prevent serious crime. The Act would mandate that any use of force, including firearms, must be proportionate to the threat and that all other means must have been exhausted or deemed ineffective.
Thank you. So it's very clear that the Kenya Police Act provides guidelines on how the police should behave. But now, like this rampant immobilizing rhetoric that is coming in now, it's looking like everyone is very excited that shooting in the legs is now a new thing. They're acting like it's a new thing, but it's actually not a new thing. Shooting in the legs to disarm a threat, an imminent threat, is not a miraculous overnight discovery for Kenya Police, the Kenya Police Force, simply because, the president has woken up one day and has decided to say it. It's not, it's in their training. They are trained on how to deal with imminent threats. But people have always, then people are now responding to it like it's a new thing and that it has not been there, but it's always has been there. The question is, and it begs to be asked very boldly, is, are we misunderstanding the circumstances under which an officer should immobilize a citizen? Is it that they are not clear on what that looks like? you know, because the dynamics of power between a citizen armed with a flag, a phone, a smartphone, and a mere bottle of water and Colgate for the eyes and nose, or even a stone, is that dynamic is tipped in favor of an officer armed with a gun. That officer has more power than the citizen. And Kenyans actually respect their police officers, and we do respect our military so much. The political class can't wake up one day and now decide that they want to lecture people on, lecturing ordinary citizens on the reasons why they now support the shooting in the legs of protesters. They have known this for a long time, but that knowledge did not stop them from killing innocent and unarmed civilians. Boniface Mwangi was not armed. He was not an imminent threat. Ojwang was not an imminent threat. There has been so many countless examples, of people who were not an imminent threat to an officer, but they were shot, murdered in cold blood. So the question that the political class should be asking themselves is there a single officer in the police force right now? I have chosen to use the force for a reason. It's because it is actually a force. They tried to rebrand it into a service, but I don't think it's working because it has not and has never been a service. Reforms in the police force has only been in the name, changing the name. But really, the police force in Kenya needs CPR, very serious CPR, with very good machines, systemic machines, I mean. Policies are there, but they choose to ignore them. But now that the president is talking about it, they choose to say, now it makes more sense, simply because the political class have decided that they want to utilize it for political mileage. In fact, the act has provisions on even how another police officer is supposed to behave when his colleague has gone rogue. Like the case of Boniface Mwangi, when that officer who was just standing there, that was his chance to also disarm and immobilize this police officer who shot Boniface Mwangi. But the political class will not talk about that because that has no mileage. It doesn't have political mileage. Because the morality of it all is that disarming and immobilizing goes both ways. That an officer can disarm and immobilize another officer who has gone rogue with their gun. Guns are not toys, man. They are a determinant between life and death. And we need to be serious about implementing the regulations around guns. Yeah.